underneath, okay? Ignore that trap door. Then there's a crane lift. Use that. Go to the roof, come back down, and turn Wittershins. Who? Will he really? I was told he wouldn't. Okay, very good. Very good. Okay. They told me he wasn't leaving Portland. Okay, Terrence, you tell me when you want me to start. Okay, well then, let me see if this is turned on. And, no it isn't. Let's see. Ah, okay. So I'm going... Hello, everybody. We are live. Hello, everybody. We are live. Hello. And it's not just a question of a reader being up here because we are on live stream. So we're I'm going to start doing like Ellen Datlow at the KGB reading goes, Nora, I can hear you talking, Nora. But that's what she would do. I would never do that. Hello, everybody. Since we are now actually on live stream, which is say we're in essence on television. It's available for 2 weeks. You go to livestream.org and you look for NYRSF, New York Review of Science Fiction. You will see the readings. They are up for 2 weeks. It's up right now. You can actually be seen and all that. This is the radio. Which does not pertain apparently to Nora's story, but well, unless we bleep it or not. Bleep the fuck out. I mean, again, we're not broadcast; we're webcast. So the FCC does not hold domain. So, but nevertheless, the nature of what has started 25 years ago. Tiny little tenement that was Dixon Place, then moving here and there and all that is changing. As of September, we're going to have one, okay, right now we're going to have one more reading at the Soho Gallery for Visual Arts, which has been our home for about 3.5, 4 years now. And, but since the owner, John Ordover, needs to rent that space out because the campfire the basement just wasn't working out for us. And then lo and behold, the space was found. As of September, when the 25th anniversary of this reading series occurs, will be our 25th year, this is our home. This is it. And if you had asked me a month ago, would you hold your reading series in Brooklyn? It's like, no. As of last Friday at 6 a.m., just to make matters even more interesting, the third floor of this building officially began broadcasting WBAI. So this is now home to both WBAI, not just the management offices, who were perfectly happy not to go up to little labyrinth at CCNY. It's now, I mean, the problem is the studio is about as finished as this room. This is sort of like what it is up there now, but I've got to say, I am much happier here with the street noise and all that than I was having to go into the labyrinth of the college building, although the people there were nice. But that's a whole other story. There was something else about that I was going to say, but forget that. Let me go on script. First of all, happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. We are approaching the end of the 24th season of the New York Review of Science Fiction Readings. I am Jim Freund. I'm calling this our Brooklyn Trilogy. We were here 2 weeks ago because Samuel R. Delaney was one of our two readers and had to finish his school in Philadelphia. So he told me he couldn't do the first week of the month. Turns out he was busy the third week of the month as well. Thus goes dyslexia, but he was here nonetheless. So we moved the reading to there. Then I found out that Rob Shearson would be in town. So we had a reading here last week. Hi, folks. You're on live. And so we had an event last week. And then this is our normally scheduled first Tuesday of the month reading. Only I decided to hold it here because I think this is, the appropriate, neat neighborhood and place to do it. So this is sort of the third of the Brooklyn trilogy, as I'm calling it, but we're going to be moving here on a regular basis. So next month on June 2nd, Ron Hogan will be our guest curator, and he's going to have what I'm calling just two disastrous New York City writers, which is to say two writers who have apocalyptic stories set in New York. So therefore, Lev A.C. Rosen and Adam Sternberg are the people involved. There we go, Death by A.C. Rosen. So he will be there. Or rather, he will be there. If you are not on our mailing list, as you can tell, we are sometimes a movable feast. Our weeks change, our events change, our venues change. So you can sign up for our mailing list there, and be sure to go to the New York Review of Science Fiction Readings, or for short, NYRSFr Facebook group, and that way you'll know what is happening. We're going to take a break after June so that I can run a Kickstarter to fund the next season. So there may or may not be a summer reading, but most likely not. After the reading is over, we are going to repair, in the future, by the way, there will be a menu. They will be serving food here. So after the readings are over, we will go to here for dinner. We'll have sandwiches and various things, and we'll find out how that works in September when the owner finds out how she's going to do it. But it's going to be cool. But tonight we're going to go to 282 Bar and Burgers, which is like 2.5 very long blocks away. Basically, go out, you take a left to 282 Atlantic Avenue, and there it is. Even if you just come to hang out, can I get a rough show of hands so I can make reservations to 1, 2, 3, 4? I know Nora will go. Sheree, raise your hand, Sheree. You're going out for dinner afterwards, right? You darn well better be. Where's Alma? Okay, so I'm going to tell them about 10 or 12 people. I think that should be about right. Okay, so, but during intermission, we have brownies and cheese in the meantime, which hopefully will make you thirsty enough to buy stuff from the cafe. Thanks, a lot of thanks to be given, not only to our readers tonight, but to the owner of the building, Melissa Ennin, who's just fabulous to work with, and our, boy, do I have this screwed up. I have our landlady, Melissa C. Beckman. Melissa is our official photographer, and you can look at her photos on Facebook for the various events, which are always very cool. Our technical director, it is now necessary to have that as a proper job title, because if you take a look in there, that's no minor control room being operated by Terrence Taylor, who's also, he's waving his hands, and he's also a very, very fine science fiction and fantasy writer who I met because of one of the former curators of this series. Oh, that was you. Okay. Who did you read with, Terrence? I'm always asking you this. Oh, Celeste Rita Baker, whose husband is here. Cool. Okay. So, that's right. That's right. And she was wearing that incredible, not Mardi Gras, Carnival mask. And so, thanks to Terrence, Barbara Krasnoff, who's our house manager and keeping us all safe. books, there are few anthologies that have changed the world of science fiction. One of them would be, say, Dangerous Visions, which helped encapsulate the new wave movement of the 60s. And another one might be Mirror Shades, which sort of made the statement about cyberpunk at the time, although it was already people. To me, one of the most important books ever published in the history of science fiction, and certainly the most important so far in the 21st century, in my humble opinion, is Dark Matter. Now, the whole title, A Century of Speculative Fiction from the, I probably have it right here, don't I? I do. A Century of Speculative Fiction from the African Diaspora. And this book, for me, was such an eye-opener because not only I could have named, 7 or 8 black science fiction writers off the top of my head, and they'd have been good ones. And Sheree came up with, how many people did you have in that book? About 30, maybe 30 or so. And the book did two things. Number one, it opened the eyes of everybody who's reading the book to the existence of this otherwise invisible universe. I think there's a documentary about that. And secondarily, it also, I believe, encouraged a lot of people. It told a lot of people, yes, you do want to submit your stories. Yes, if you keep at it, you will get accepted. So I think that changed the world and changed the face of science fiction. And actually tonight, I think for both of our writers, that's what we have. People who are literally changing the face and the manner and the nature of what speculative fiction is. So I am thrilled that we have this lineup. Having said that, I better get off the stage. Sheree Renee Thomas is a native of Memphis. She was the 2015 Lucille Geyer, is it pronounced? Geyer Lakes Writer in Residence at Smith College, and a Canaan? A Cave Canem, I should have researched this, right? And a Cave Canem Poetry NYRSFr Fellow. Okay. Thank you. Her work appears in Callaloo, Mythic Delirium, Strange Horizons, Transition, the New York Times, I've heard of them, Mojo, Conjure Stories, a great anthology, I love that one. The Ringing Ear, So Long Been Dreaming, another really dynamite book. The whole title is So Long Been Dreaming, Post-Colonial Science Fiction Fantasy. Were you in that? You weren't. Okay. Among other literary journals and anthologies. Look for new short stories from Sheree Renee Thomas, forthcoming this year in Stories for Chip, a tribute to Samuel R. Delaney, An Alphabet of Embers, and Memphis Noir, Shotgun Lullabies from Aqueduct Press, came out in 2011. It's her first chapbook. And did I say that she was the curator of this reading series for 2 years? And really just improved it that much. Welcome back to Rereading.
Thank you for coming out during the week before the hump day. Let's see. I'm going to take you deep down south, okay? The name of this short story is Morning When She Rise. Thank you. See if we can work this out. The girl mistook death for one of the landlord's daughters come to collect the rent. The ones that wore the loud lipstick, the loud dresses, and wore the loud, cheap perfume. Death stood leaning against the light pole and scraped mud off her shoe with a broken off stick. The girl told Death her mama wasn't home, said it real slow as if she had practiced it many times, as if she had said those very words exactly 1 month before. Then she took her pink chalk, the stub held tightly in her little hands, and wrote very carefully on the porch the word get. Def would have to wait to see her mama about that month's rent, but Def shook her head and settled in her red shoes. Def said she wasn't there to collect no rent. She came for her due. My sister real sick, ma'am. You ought to come back later, Binky said, her hair in 3 thick plaits. She wiped the chalk on her leggings and turned to go. Def stood in a cloud of jasmine, loud as a cargo airplane that flew overhead. Def adjusted her red bra strap that peeked out at the child. She thumped it like a rubber band and said, I can wait. Was the little girl's reply. The next day, her mama got the letter. Binky's mama cried so softly, her voice was a whispered moan. Her silent anguish frightened Binky more than any wailing, more than any blues song. My baby, Lord, was all her mama said. She refused to look at Binky. Instead, she raised her eyes to the warped ceiling above and begged, please don't send her home in a box. Binky stood at her mama's elbow, her face full of questions, but her mama waved her away. Later, child, she said, and closed the lopsided bedroom door between them. She grieved for 6 whole days, and on the 7th, Binky received a strange box. Now, when the mailman came, Binky thought they'd send her sister home from Africa, but the box was not as big as she imagined. She signed for the package and took it inside, arms full as she walked past her mama's closed door. When Binky opened the box, to her surprise, her big sister wasn't there. Inside was an odd, life-size mud doll. The doll had a head full of plaited hair that almost looked real. 2 cowrie shells formed its eyes. The doll had a dark blue pouch tied around its neck. It was covered in tiny, sparkling beads. Amulets pinned with foreign brass coins dangled around the mouth of the pouch. Binky frowned. The doll was spookier than all the souvenirs Janine had sent home during her time in South Sudan. The mud doll was no longer than Binky's arm. It gave off the faint, spicy scent of cinnamon. Binky stood it up on the coffee table and stared at its carved wooden feet. The blue pouch looked empty, but she was too afraid to peek inside. If her mama had gotten it, Binky knew exactly what she would do. Her mama would have tossed that doll in the very back of the linen closet. She might have thrown it in the garbage. She would have hidden it with the rest of Janine's souvenirs, all the while complaining about foreign haints and bad hoodoo. Binky, hide this, love you, was all Janine's handwritten note had said. Now this was something Binky could do. Binky was good at hiding things for her big sister, had been hiding her secrets all her life. Like the time Janine snuck that big-head boy in the house one night when Mama had to work the graveyard shift. Or like the time Janine thought she was pregnant, but turned out all she had was a stomach flu. Or the time Janine bought Binky some bright, sparkly pink nail polish for her birthday and said she lost Mama's change on the bus. Binky took the strange doll and hid it under the bed she once shared with her sister. Satisfied, she placed the carved wooden box high up on her bookcase shelf. Now that night, Binky dreamed she lost her teeth, every last bit one of them. Then her big sister came, not more than a week later. She was hard and stringy as a gnawed-off neck bone with just a little bit of bristle. She was ashy, chapped-lipped, skin flaking into tiny dull pieces, too weak to swipe at Mama when she struck her, too weak to be held. I told you not to sign up for the military, was all Binky's mama would say. Preachers say we in perpetual war. America in perpetual war. Ain't no justice, no peace. Mama and child carried Janine into the house and put her to bed. Both tried to blink back tears. Now one morning, a pockmarked healer came calling on Janine. She strutted down the sidewalk past the overgrown lawns, past Mr. Martin's knucklehead nephew's old rusty kickstand thing he called a house. She walked up the duplex steps like she was dancing to some kind of furious music only she could hear. Binky didn't like this one, preferred the wigged ladies from the church. At least they sang real pretty and prayed real hard, even if they were too scared to touch Janine, Binky, or her mama. Ain't no telling what that one got. One church lady had whispered over Janine, who lay stuttering in her sleep. The church lady adjusted her wig, clutched her Bible, and clip-clopped out the door, dropping blessings in the street. But this one smelled of incense and cigars, sweet herbs and old man's beards. This one looked like she hadn't been inside of a church since God made dirt. She charged right up the concrete steps. She charged right up the concrete steps, sprinkling what looked like grape soda all over the front porch. Mama gonna be mad, Binky thought. She watched as Mama bit her lip, shook her head, and sucked in her breath as a healer woman blew past her, poked and squeezed her sister's guts, pulled at her lips, and peered under her gums. Root. Bad root. Inspection over, she took a swig of the grape soda and tucked it in her great big rice bag. I don't know what kind, and truthfully, this ain't my area. I specialize in folks that ain't got nothing more than a little bit of heart pain, confidence issues, you know. I don't go around advertising that I do nothing more than make a sad soul feel better, put a little ease where there was dis-ease, the healer said. But your child, Robin, I don't know what to tell you. I know she went over there trying to do good, but she come back here tanked. The healer looked over her shoulder, out the window at the high weeds in the yard, at the upturned roots and dandelions, turned her eyes to rest on the strange carved box. She shook her head. Something dark and pitiful, a bitter brown gulf opened up in the stuffy room. Heat and dust and sand rose all about them, a great desert of despair. She come back from that new sedan with something real old, something bad. What? I can't hardly tell you. Now, Mama waited a long moment, then sucked her teeth. Well, hell, Carolyn, I could have told my own self that. What am I paying you for? You ain't paid me shit yet, Miss Carolyn. The kind of sort of sometime a healer woman said and sniffled. In fact, I ain't asked you for a nickel, dime, or a quarter. She sat down in the fold-up chair Mama had placed next to the shivering heap that was her first daughter. What you say she was doing over there? Mama shrugged. No, land, fiber optics, agro-industrial something or another. First in that part of the country, supposed to be historic, but they over there cutting up. You know how them Africans do, snatching up folks' kids, napping their daughters. No government worth a damn in sight, and the U.S. hauled ass out of there as fast as they could. Fiber optics? The healer woman looked around. We ain't even got that here. Why are we putting that mess over there? Them folks ain't even got no roads, nothing but desert. Now that a lie, Mama said. Janine said they got gold, oil, the dang Nile River, and about a gazillion acres of land they ain't doing nothing with. That's what they've been fighting for, clean water and everything. You know the world gonna end when good folks gotta fight a war over water. Warmongers kept them from building, first the white folks, then their own black selves. Janine and them over there trying to help them out, supposed to have been protecting them. Carolyn, you know how that is. No telling what they was really doing. At least that's what the government say. I don't trust the air that come out of a politician's mouth. Helping, that's what they always say, the healer woman said. Mama sucked in air, flicked a tear from her lash. Now look what done happened to my baby. Miss Carolyn did not reply. She pressed a palm across Janine's ashen face and cooed something gentle. There ain't hardly no real jobs around here. She said she didn't want to work at the plantation. As if on cue, another cargo plane flew overhead, shook the windows. She said she wanted to do some good in the world. I told her. Mama started up and then stopped herself. The old house rumbled and gritted its teeth. The world is hard on do-getters. I told her to leave that military alone. Ain't like it used to be. Folks used to sign up and can go on to college, get a trade, make a decent life, see the world. Now they killing folks' babies left and right. So many wars, don't even get a chance to see Hawaii. That's the way it's always been, Miss Carolyn muttered. Can only hope for better. Binky patted Mama on her back. If she wanted to, she could almost see Mama eye to eye. Before she left, Janine had told Binky not to get taller. You keep growing, girl, and soon you'll be taller than me. Can't have that now, Slim Binky, can you? Mama bathed Janine with an alcohol bath, dabbed her temples with almond oil, while the healer massaged and twisted her spine with red oak bark to make the fever break. Binky's big sister struggled and fought, swung swollen knuckle fists and cried out like she didn't recognize a single soul around her. Hold her hands, Mama cried. What they do to my baby? She's never acted this crazy before. Gone out of here, child, the healer said. Pity lit the half moons on her face. Desert fever make you see things. Your sister should be all right. Just go on praying like you do. We won't let her hurt herself. Binky watched a while longer, then let the back room door close behind her. She keep that secret too. Didn't say a word about what flew out of the corner of her sister's eye, red and hungry. Didn't say a word about what hung in the corner, watching, waiting. Binky didn't think nothing about her gift. That she could see the spirits of dead people when nobody else could was Binky's biggest secret. And as scared of death as people were, it didn't seem like something she ought to say. Not her mama or her sister or even their daddy. No one that she knew had the sight. Now, Binky remembered seeing dead spirits when she was just a little bitty thing, but the other day was the first time she'd ever seen death. She remembered the first time she even saw a dead spirit. Remembered it well because Daddy didn't want to go. No, not at all. None of them ever did. At least none of the dead that Binky had seen. Once, at Vacation Bible School, Binky had seen Ariel's aunt come running barefoot through the garden at the back of the church, running with an armful of red and white roses, digging her heels in the dirt. She was yelling or singing or hollering or both, but Miss Shelton, the Bible teacher, had kept on reading scriptures in her soft, sing-songy, Jesus-wept voice. None of the other children looked up or even noticed, not even bug-eyed Ariel, who kept trying to kick Binky onto the picnic table. "Stop kicking me," Binky had cried, and Miss Shelton had shushed her, but Binky couldn't concentrate. Ariel's aunt had turned to Binky. She dug bare toes into the earth and mouthed some words Binky didn't understand. It wasn't until after Mama untied the black ribbons in their hair, hung their funeral clothes up, scraped the graveyard dirt from their heels, when Binky was certain that Ariel's aunt was dead and she'd seen her. Mama had whispered something about mercy and souls, cutting and wrists. She kept rubbing her palms over her own wrists as if the skin burned. The roses Binky thought she had seen must have been the poor soul's stained linen. Binky wanted to tell Ariel what she had seen, wanted to comfort her friend and tell her that even in death, her aunt was still a little bit wild, maybe even cheerful. But the mystery that was the woman's last words stopped Binky. It was another secret Binky kept. Binky's mind was so full of secrets that she forgot all about death until she heard. "Tell them they have to wait," Mama shouted from the back room. "Out here hounding me, blowing up the phone. Renee ain't due for another day." "Gotta wait," Binky told Death, who was sitting up eating skins in a tree. Death wiped salt from her chin and crunched down on the pork rind real slow. Binky turned away from the sight of Death's sharp dog teeth. "Don't go nowhere, child." Her teeth were red with cayenne pepper and spice. "I'll be back in another day." Then Death tossed the bag and jumped down from the tree. Binky stared at the open bag, her stomach grumbling. Binky was hungry, but not that hungry. Who crazy enough to eat after death? She kicked the bag of skins out of their balding yard and went back into the sweating house. The sometime healer woman stood on the front porch, arms akimbo, talking trash. Talk about she gonna hold off death, like she's some kind of black Moses shouting down Pharaoh. She stood there and waved her bottle, the grape soda long since replaced with something stronger. Talking about, "Halt, heathen!" Her hand stuck out like she was Dinah Ross in the Supremes. But Binky knew she couldn't see a blessed thing. Miss Carolyn, the healer woman, said she would stop death, stop her at the screen door, long as she had a good friend in Jesus, long as she had the faith in Christ the Savior, and a little extra putting away cash to cover her initial expenses, and the time spent at bedside administering and such, the supplies, and a River City cab home, of course. Death that day came wearing some white harem pants, a white tank top cut a bit too low, and some white majorette boots with tassels and bells. Binky could see and hear Death marching all up and down the street. Of course, no one else could. High-stepping, she was almost joyful. The only thing that was missing was one of those Mardi Gras umbrellas the refugees bought from New Orleans when the Crescent City flooded into Memphis. Binky squinted, then wiped her eyes. No, nothing was missing. Death came pop-locking and juking with white fingerless gloves, and the umbrella held high, twirling it in one hand. Another day, she sang. Invisible drums and brass beat out a rhythm as Death's second line down Randall Street. As she got closer, Binky could see that Death had a black eye. The other was covered in clumps of mascara. You ever heard that saying, child? Binky shook her head. How old are you? Death peered down at her. Old enough. That's so, that's so. Apparently not old enough to know better than to talk smack to your elders. Well, the first part of the saying, and I won't repeat that for your delicate ears, child. The first part, folks make that part up on their own. How they make it is their business. They got their whole life to make that. But the second part, and then you die, well, that part is me, all me. Death confided in the child, nearly proudful. Some souls take it a little personally, she said, pointing a gold-tipped lacquered nail at her bruised eye. Binky admired the swirly lines on the tips, reminded her of the strange carvings on her big sister's doll. They get things all twisted up, run around the world mad at me like it's my fault their names ain't written in the book of life. I ain't invited to the after party either. I don't get to eat shit, and you don't see me throwing punches and getting mad. Death started to walk into the yard, but she stopped as if she just hit a 2-ton brick wall. The tiny bells on her white boots yelped in protest. What y'all doing here? Death, her black eyes turned to narrow slits. A single long gold-tipped nail pointed at the wet pavement leading to the door. I told you my sister's sick. When we got back from the VA, she got blood all on the floor. Mama had old Mr. Martin put a new pavement down. Death frowned. VA? Y'all be putting her in the ground before they get back to her. The waiting list about as long as the one in heaven. Got me walking in this dirt. You call a yard as sharp as I am? I just got these boots. Cussing, Death stomped down dandelions and weeds. She climbed the front porch in her white marching boots, rolled her eyes at the healer woman, and stuck out her bloated tongue. Now the healer neither heard nor saw Death, though to her credit she shivered and clutched herself when Death snuck up behind her and whistled in her ear. Death was just about to reach for the screen door when she snatched her hand back as if she touched something hot. Something ain't right round here, Death said, studying her fingers in the white gloves. Ma'am, that's the first true thing you done said all day. Binky watched as Death moonwalked away from the door. The handle was slick and shiny. Child, what you say to me? The healer woman stopped her litany and turned to stare the girl dead in her face. Binky, you sassy Miss Carolyn. Mama poked her head out the door. Come on in this house standing out here talking nonsense. I finally got your sister to sleep. Binky shrugged and followed the healer woman and Mama into the back bedroom where her sister Janine snored and stank. The healer woman burned some juniper and sage, throwing salt in every corner of the room. She rubbed talcum powder on her sister's temples and charcoal on the bottoms of her feet. She reached for her blessing oil, but it wasn't in her bag, and for the life of her, she couldn't remember where she put it. She cut her eyes at Binky, who studied the floor. Weren't you in school? The healer woman asked, still annoyed. She pulled her faded pink Race for the Cure 5K shirt over her big belly. Ain't you supposed to be somewhere learning something? She gone, Mama said. But ever since Janine come back, every other day, Binky was up at them folks' school talking about her neck and her back and her stomach and her pinky hurt. I got tired of running up there every time the nurse called, so I told her she might as well stay here till we get her sister a little bit further along. The healer woman's forehead, moon-like and massive as Miles Davis's, wrinkled disapproval. A child that age ought to be in school, Rhonda, learning something decent no matter what. She don't need to be here sitting up watching her sister die. Ain't no telling if or when we gonna get her sister anywhere near the road to health. Stop being trifling and send that child back to school. First of all, my child is not dying. Second, that ain't what you said when you took my money. Mama stopped dabbing Janine's skin with the alcohol rub. Her eyes were stilly slits. All I'm saying, Robin, all she learning here is death. Not right for a young soul to be burdened so. Binky's mama was quiet a moment. Finally, she said, old soul, she came here burdened. Might as well learn how to lift it. I ain't got no help. She looked down at Janine, who sweated and muttered in her sleep. My first one didn't listen, but maybe that one will. The healer woman threw back her head and laughed. Don't no child on the earth listen. It ain't in their nature. Did you? You right, Mama said. Her eyes brightened up with just a hint of a smile. Not even God's first children, hard-headed as they come. And all they had to do was eat, sleep, and shit. Adam and Eve still complaining, living in paradise, ain't got no rent, the first, best landlord in the world, and they still got their butts evicted. How you figure that? But a mama's gotta try. That is in our nature. And I think that comes straight from God. She rolled Janine on her side and pulled the soiled sheets from beneath her. He ain't give up on us yet, and I ain't giving up on this one either. My child would not die. Still, never thought I'd see the day. Carolyn rolled her eyes. The day ain't over yet. Binky, bring me a clean set of linen and take this, Mama said, and handed the child a stack of neatly folded bills. The money smelled sweet like the baby powder tucked between Mama's billowy breasts. Here's the rent in case they come while Miss Carolyn and I are out. Now, we won't be gone long. Gotta pick up a few things. Make sure no one gets it but the landlord's people, and don't let nobody else in the house. Your sister needs to rest so she can heal up, let this fever break. Yes, ma'am, Binky said. She slipped into her bedroom, the tiny one that her big sister said she couldn't wait to get out of. There wasn't much of a view. The room's long window faced the side of the house, looking into the abandoned lot across the street. Binky crawled on her knees and reached under the bed. Out came her sister's blue pouch. Out came the amulet pins with the funny coins. Inside the pouch was a waterproof bag. Binky found this curious. 2 compartments. Binky sighed. Janine was still full of secrets. Binky undid her bobo and smoothed back her hair with her hands and tied it up again. Keeping secrets was sometimes hard work. Binky kept so many secrets, she didn't have much room for her own. The girl put Mama's rent money in the waterproof pouch and cinched it up real good. She poked her head out the door, thinking Def had gone, but when she stepped out, she saw that Def was back, sitting up in that tree being nosy. Hey, little bit. The landlord's youngest daughter was standing on the sidewalk looking salty. Your mama got daddy's rent. The other 2 were sitting in the car with the engine running. The landlord, who claimed he was now a minister, drove nothing but Cadillacs. Mama said old players die hard. Binky nodded and started to hand it to her, but Def hollered down, "Ask that one for a receipt." She want a receipt, Binky said, and hid the blue pouch behind her. She what? She must want to get her butt evicted. Def chuckled and dangled her marching boots over the pecan tree's great branch. Binky could hear Def's tiny bells tinkling in the wind. Al Green blared from the Cadillac. Don't pay her no mind, Def said. She ain't going up in that house no time soon. Scared she gonna catch whatever your sister got. Tell her you want a legit receipt and tell her to bring it, and then she can get her rent. Binky started to tell her, but the landlord's daughter walked right up on her. Give me the money, girl. I ain't got time for these games. You gotta hit it in that old raggedy Crown Royal bag, she said, pointing at the pouch. It ain't no Crown Royal, Binky shouted, and Def leaned over, tried to look disinterested, but her long nails betrayed her. Hooked like talons, they dug into the branch, sent a flurry of dark bark drifting in clouds over their heads. Binky opened the pouch and snatched out a golden cat's eye. Don't you know marbles when you see them? You ain't that old, is you? The landlord's daughter liked to turn 3 shades browner. She stamped her little feet like Rumpelstiltskin. That made Binky smile, made Def giggle, and the fact that she would be going home with no money and tree mess all up in her freshly done hair made the woman even madder. She looked back at her sisters, who gunned the engine. You better tell your mama I'll be back tomorrow, and she better have our money. The Cadillac roared off in a cloud of black smoke, trailing everything but love and happiness. Def flipped out of the tree and stood in the yard, peered at Binky. Her raccoon eyes avoided the pouch. Very interesting, Def said, and flashed her pointy teeth. Then she 2-stepped down the street, the parasol, a white moon, floating above her head. The next day, Binky woke to hear singing. Very superstitious, writing on the wall. Binky turned over and frowned, still dreaming. She wasn't sure if it was Def she was hearing or the weary healing woman. Binky was ready for all of them to take their butts home. She stumbled into the kitchen and dug sleep from her eyes. Mama was drinking coffee, black. Her hair was dull and brittle, eyes shrouded in shadows. She looked like she'd been awake 1,000 years. Binky never saw her mom look as tired and sad as this. Her bottom lip trembled. "Mama," she said. "You woke, baby?" Binky stood by her mama, stroked her stray curls, frightened for perhaps the first time since she received her big sister's box. "I know, Binky, baby. You can dye your hair black, but you can't change your back. Mama old and getting older. This here was your sister is about to undo me." She held Binky's hand and made her sit next to her and be still. "I thought we'd see a change in the night, but it looked like she's worse off now than she was before. I just can't understand it." After Death left, Janine's fever-riddled rantings had gone on late into the night, and her pulse was slow and weak, her eyes sunken, her skin burdened up beneath her in white patches. Miss Carolyn, the healer woman, rapped 3 times on the door. A hooked finger was all Binky got when she greeted her. "I'm gonna need you to warm it up now, child. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Death won't set your sister loose. I ain't quite sure how she holding on as it is, but she sure holding, if only barely." The healer woman leaned in real close, whispered, "Your mama ain't gonna approve, so we ain't gonna tell her none of this?" She waited to see the girl's reluctant nod. "Good. She just bring me on to add a little extra to her prayers. But I know she's not really into none of this. I ain't really into none of this. But at this point, there ain't much else I can do. Gotta see this thing through, or your big sister gonna die. So you go on out in that wilderness across the street to that empty lot, or whatever y'all call that yard, and catch me a fat-bellied snake." Binky's eyes got big as her friend's Ariel's. They shone like 2 mercury dimes. She looked like a cicada with those 2 Popeyes sitting on the side of her head. She didn't want to wade through the weeds that came up to her waist. No telling what else was in that wilderness. Folks' children went over there and disappeared. They say Pretty Tony went up in there and was never seen again. Papa's red ball rolled over in there, and he came back with half his leg. The property, like every other blotted lot in the neighborhood, had long since been abandoned, and no one even recalled the last tenants' names. The city didn't care, so that was that. Wasn't nobody going up in there if they could help it. "I'm sorry, Miss Carolyn, but I ain't catching no snake." Binky should have gone on back in the house, but she didn't. Seemed like her little feet were rooted in the ground. "You will if you want your sister to live." Now that almost worked. Almost. Then Binky's eyes narrowed. "Yeah, but if it's so important, why can't you do it?" Carolyn, the healer woman, pursed her lips. Her great moon pie forehead rippled respect. "Child, you got too much sense." "I see what your mama mean." She tried another tack. "I can't do it because somebody in the bloodline got to do it. Families and sacrifice, you know. Always been like that, always will." "Now, while you catching the snake, just a fat belly, mind you, not none of no scary cottonmouth, and not no little green garter thing either, but a regular fat belly. I gotta be doing something else, something ancient and significant. Rituals and such, important healer business. Wrestling with death too dangerous a work for a girl thing like you." Binky started to tell her that she'd been wrestling with death for as long as she could remember, but she kept that secret too. Besides, Miss Carolyn couldn't hold water. If Binky told her, the whole street would know her business. They already thought Binky was a tad bit strange. No need to add fresh fuel to the fire. "You gonna do it?" "Good. Take this music box. It's broke, but the lid is good. I need a fat belly, remember? It ain't dangerous, but it ain't one of those run-of-the-mill, harmless, scare your granny garden snakes either. They don't bite and they don't fret. They just, well, stop looking crazy, child. Ain't nothing gonna bite you. Just take this box and throw a pillowcase over the thing. Scoop it on in." She handed the girl a broomstick in the music box. Binky opened it up, saw the floral pillowcase folded neatly inside. "Go on and get, child," the healer woman said. "You ain't gonna find nothing after dark." Binky stood on the porch holding the broomstick in the box, looking as bewildered as the day she was born. I wouldn't fool with no broke down music box if I were you, Death said, hanging upside down from the tree. Now this time she wore a bright green sequin number, some kind of trapeze artist suit with a cape. Her marching boots with their tassels and bells rang like holy wind chimes in the breeze. That fake Faith Hiller is gonna get your little narrow butt killed. When the last time you ever seen a fat belly? How do you know what it is in them wild weeds over there? Could be all kinds of critters and such, cracked pipes and broken glass and stuff up in there. No telling. From Binky's view, Death was starting to make a whole lot of sense. She loved her sister, loved her something powerful, but she didn't want to get snake bit. Still, a snake bite was nothing compared to Death, at least not the kind Binky had seen. So she mustered up her courage and tightened her grip on the broom. The child chanted scriptures as she stepped into the street. Now Death watched her from her spot in the tree, a great glimmering green bat swinging in the breeze. Thy rod and thy staff, eh? Binky remained silent. She kicked a root beer can, looked both ways, and crossed the street. I'm telling you, wouldn't use that flimsy box. The lid don't shut good. Might not bite, but a fat-bellied snake can be strong, child. Ain't going without a struggle. How you know that old charlatan ain't set you up for a fall? You keep rocking like that, you gonna be the one to fall, Binky hissed. She wondered how anyone died the way Death was always flapping her gums, hanging around, talking so much mess. Multitasking was all Death said. And the air filled with her twinkling bells and dog-tooth giggling. Binky marched on, her straight back a shield as Death taunted her from the tree. Undaunted, the child eased the rent money out of the blue pouch and put the roll of bills in her pocket. She crept under the underbrush until she came to a fence of blackberry bushes. Now snakes love juicy blackberries, love them almost as much as humans. Binky swallowed slowly and waited so long she almost couldn't feel her square knees anymore. And then she saw it. The snake was just lying there, curled up, minding its own. Now just when Binky was about to drop her little pillowcase on it, Death opened up her big old mouth. She talked about the old polluted creek beyond the lake with its crooked tooth fence that led to the great muddy river. She talked about things pitiful and dark, the brown and bitter gulf between the generations. She described the loneliness of the world's greatest cities and how they seem to be built upon the backs and bones of its children, all the dead and dying children. She talked about the time she picked up the last of the Taino and about the new souls that carried their bloodline from Africa to other shores, how she followed the ships, riding on the backs of sharks, collected the dead from the twisted timbers and foamy waves. She marveled at the farthest distance traveled by a dandelion seedling, compared that to the exact temperature it takes for bones to finally burn when they're dead. And hovering in Binky's sister's room, Death watched and reported on the inner goings-on. As her mother prayed and the healer woman mixed teas, Death told Binky that African doll her big sister Janine had sent home to herself was like the healer their mama now sat with. Nothing but a cheap fake designed to fool spiritual tourists. 'Cause anyone with sense know people ain't finna sell their real mojo. I got spectroscopic eyes, Death said, bragging as the girl watched the fat belly mosey along. Child, the pattern on them amulets is fake, all synthetic materials and pigments. Ain't a bit of real bronze alloy corrosion nowhere near that thing. And look, it looked that old 'cause it's buried in the earth. Just to age it. They probably shit on it too. Strictly amateurs. That thing ain't gonna help you or your sister, Death said. If Janine sent it and didn't send nothing else, I don't care how fake it is, the child said. Her meaning was clear. And this snake? She dropped the cloth atop the fat belly's head. It's real. I got you. Binky used the broom handle to shove the startled snake into the blue pouch and cinch it shut. Still a little stunned that she had actually gotten it, Binky took another deep breath and quickly stuffed the writhing critter into the music box, quick fast before she could change her mind. It was just under 3 feet long, and not at all that fat belly from what Binky could tell. In fact, it looked a little bit different than what Binky remembered. But she didn't mind because now, Death, who was standing in the weeds, had finally disappeared, silent, and was probably somewhere pouting and mad. The child was beginning to wonder what it would take to shut death up, and now she knew. I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you, Sheree Renee Thomas. That was... We're going to take about a 10-minute break and remind you that we have, I think, still some cheese and brownies over there, plenty for you. It is now 7:50, so we will recommence at about 8 o'clock with a raffle and then NK Jemisin.
Testing, testing.
2-minute warning, everybody. 2-minute warning. We're going to start at 8 o'clock. It is now 8:06. Terrence? Oh, actually, we don't need you yet. We can start the raffle, which isn't all that photogenic. But are we on anyway? Do they hear us? Well, then I get to say hi to Danielle Friedman, who's been tweeting and saying, I'm watching from home. This is so great. So everybody say hi to Danielle. Okay, she'll be up here reading. Yeah, she'll be up here reading soon enough. Okay, folks. It's raffle time. We have a very, very, very cool raffle item. Okay, who wants to be the raffle puller? Okay, you, okay. Okay, oh good, okay. Good. One. Because last week your husband won. Okay, you got it? Okay, so the last 3 digits on the raffle ticket are 113. Okay. Audiobook of Game of Thrones. You can let Celeste listen to it as well. Okay. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm not seeing anything from here. Sorry, Robert. Okay. Oh, and my copy. the second half of our evening of our Brooklyn trilogy, as it were, here and at home. And now, our next reader is, I think, simply one of the great phenomenons in science fiction in terms of her writing, in terms of personality, and so much else. She won't be able to read tonight because she has these flashes in her eyes. That's our official photographer at work there. N.K. Jemisin is a Brooklyn author whose short fiction and novels have been multiply nominated for the Hugo and the Nebula, shortlisted for the Crawford and the Tiptree, and have won the Locus Award for Best First Novel. Her speculative works range from fantasy to science fiction to the undefinable. Her themes include resistance to oppression, the inseverability of the liminal. I had to look that one up. I knew it was subliminal, but never what the liminal was. That's interesting stuff. And the coolness of stuff blowing up. Terrence has an app for that on his iPhone. So it takes any video, any picture, and just it blows up. She is a member of the Altered Fluid Writing Group and a graduate of the Viable Paradise Writing Workshop. In her spare time, like she has any, she is a biker, an adventurer, a gamer, very important being a gamer, and a counseling psychologist. She is also single-handedly responsible for saving the world from King Ozymandias. Her ginger cat. King Ozymandias. It's a ginger cat. They have their rights come with being a cat and being ginger. Her essays, media reviews, and fiction excerpts are available at nkjemisin.com. That's spelled NKJEMISIN. May I introduce Nora Jemisin.
Had to get somebody to take a picture for my mother. We just came to my first reading, one of my readings for the first time about 2 months ago. It was the first time she had ever seen me do a reading with anyone. And she was just like, my baby's a writer. I'm like, but yeah, that's my mama. All right, so this is going to be an interesting evening because I'm going to be reading essentially an unfinished story. This is a story whose first draft I literally just finished 4 days ago, and it has not been shown to my writing group. Any members of my writing group here? There are some members of my former writing group here, but not members of my current writing group. Good. So I'm going to be reading a draft that will change. The title will probably change to we will see. But because I have never read this before and because it is a new story, I would welcome feedback from any of you after I finish reading it. Please feel free to come tell me exactly what you thought of it. Just tell me. All right. The city born with a call. I sing the city. Fucking city. I stand illegally on the rooftop of a building I don't live in and spread my arms and tighten my middle and sing nonsense ululations at the construction site which blocks my view. I'm really singing at the cityscape beyond it. The city will figure it out. It's dawn. The damp of it makes my jeans feel slimy, or maybe that's the fact that they haven't been washed in months. I've got change for a wash and dry, just not another pair of pants to wear till they're done. There's a laundromat on the corner. The old guy who runs it looks like the type who wouldn't mind me going bare-ass for a while, maybe in a back room with him, but not yet. Not till I've finished going, and listening to the syllable echo back at me from every nearby building face. In my head, there's an orchestra playing Ode to Joy with a Busta Rhymes backbeat. My voice is just tying it all together. Shut your fucking mouth, somebody yells. So I take a bow and exit the stage. But with my hand on the rooftop door's knob, I stop and turn back and frown and listen, because for a moment I think I hear something both distant and intimate sing back at me, basso deep and cool. And from even farther away I hear something else, a gathering rumble of swift-building hatred. Or maybe those are the rumblers of police sirens. Bad news either way. I leave. There's a way these things are supposed to work, says Paolo. He's smoking and it's gross. I have an e-cig somewhere, but I don't offer it to him because I don't have a cartridge and because I can't stand the idea of his ash-tainted mouth on it. I've never seen him eat. All he uses his mouth for is smoking, drinking coffee, and talking. We're sitting in a cafe even now. I'm sitting with him because he bought me breakfast. The people in the cafe are eyeballing him because he's not wearing pencil jeans and he's something not white by their standards, but they can't tell what. They're eyeballing me because I'm definitively black and because the holes in my clothes aren't the fashionable kind. I don't stink, but these people can smell anybody without a trust fund from a mile away. Right, I say, biting into the egg sandwich and damn near wetting myself. Actual egg, Swiss cheese. It's so much better than that McDonald's shit. Guy likes hearing himself talk. I like his accent. It's sort of nasal and sibilant, nothing like a Spanish speaker's. His eyes are fucking huge and I think, I could get away with so much shit if I had permanent puppy eyes like that. But he feels older than he looks. Way, way older. There's only a tinge of gray at his temples, but he feels like 100. He's also eyeballing me, and not in the way I'm used to. Are you listening? He says. This is important. Yeah, I say, and take another bite of my sandwich. So fucking good. I can face an army with this sandwich in me. He sits forward. I didn't believe Eva at first. Hong had to drag me to one of the sewers, down into the reeking dark and show me the growing roots, the teeth. I'd been hearing breathing for so long that I didn't even notice. He pauses. Have you heard it yet? Heard what? I ask, which is the wrong answer. It isn't that I'm not listening. I just don't give a shit. He sighs. Listen. I am listening. No, I mean, listen, but not to me. He gets up, tosses a 20 onto the table, which isn't necessary because he paid for the sandwich and the coffee at the counter and even put change in the tip jar there. Meet me back here on Thursday. I pick up the 20, finger it, pocket it. Would have done it for the sandwich or because I like his eyes, but whatever. You got a place? He blinks, looks annoyed. Listen, he commands again, and leaves. I sit there for as long as I can, making the sandwich last, sipping his leftover coffee, savoring the feeling of being normal. I people watch and judge other people's appearances and imagine going back to a nice apartment with a soft bed and my choice of companions to keep it warm. Then a cop comes in, fat, florid guy buying hipster Joe for himself and another still in the car, and his flat eyes skim the shop. I imagine mirrors around my head, a rotating cylinder of them which causes his gaze to bounce away. There's no real power in this. It's just something I do to try and make myself less afraid when the monsters are near. But the cop looks away nevertheless. Lucky. God damn, that was a good sandwich. I escape. I paint the city. Back when I was in school, there was an artist who came in on Fridays to teach us the basics of perspective and lighting and all this other shit that people who go to art school learn how to do right. He was black. I'd never seen a black artist before. For a minute, I thought I could maybe be one too. I can be sometimes, deep in the night on a rooftop in Chinatown, with a spray can for each hand and a bucket of drywall paint that somebody left outside after doing up their living room in lilac. I move in scuttling crab-like swirls. The drywall stuff I can't use too much of. It'll start flaking off after a couple of rains. Spray paint's better for everything, but I like the contrast the two textures make. Liquid black on rough lilac, red edging the black. I'm painting a hole. It's like a throat that doesn't end in lungs or a stomach, a thing that breathes and swallows endlessly, never filling. No one will see it except people in planes angling toward LaGuardia from the southwest. A few tourists who take helicopter tours, and NYPD aerial surveillance. I don't care what they see. It's not for them. It's real late. I didn't have anywhere to sleep for the night, so this is what I'm doing to stay awake. If it wasn't the end of the month, I'd get on the subway, but the cops who haven't met their quota would fuck with me. Gotta be careful here, too. There's a lot of dumb fuck Chinese kids west of Grand Street who want to pretend to be in a gang, even though all the money's out in Astoria now, so I keep low. I'm skinny, dark, that helps too. All I want to do is paint, man, because it's in me and I need to get it out. I need to open up this throat. I need to. There's a soft, strange sound as I lay down the last streak of black. I pause and look around, confused for a moment, and then the throat sighs behind me. A big, heavy gust of warm, moist air tickles the hairs on my skin. I'm not scared. It feels right. I was expecting it somehow. This is why I did it. But when I turn back, there's only paint on a rooftop. My mama told me the truth. I ain't never been right in the head. I jump into the air and whoop for joy, and I don't even know why. I'm so tired when I find the guy again that I stumble and nearly fall through the cafe's plate glass window. He catches my elbow and drags me over to a bench meant for customers to sit on. "You're hearing it," he says. "I'm hearing coffee," I suggest, not bothering to stifle a yawn. A cop car rolls by. I'm not too tired to imagine myself as nothing, beneath notice, not even worth beating for pleasure. They roll on. Paolo ignores my suggestion. He sits down beside me and his gaze goes strange and unfocused for a moment. "The city is breathing easier," he says. "You're doing a good job, even without training." I say, "I try." He looks amused. "I can't tell if you don't believe me or if you just don't care." I shrug. "Both?" I'm hungry. My stomach growls. I've still got that 20 he gave me, but I'll take it to that church plate sale I heard about over on Prospect. Get chicken and rice and greens and cornbread for less than the cost of a free trade small batch roasted coffee. He glances down at my stomach when it growls. Huh. I pretend to stretch and scratch above my abs, making sure to pull up my shirt just a little. The artist guy brought a model for us once to draw, and pointed to this little ridge of muscle above the hips called the girdle of Adonis. Paolo's gaze goes right to it. Come on. I need somewhere to sleep. Then his eyes narrow and focus on mine again. "There are no favelas here," he says, thoughtful. "Perhaps I've failed to relate matters properly." "Not a lot of Mexican food in New York," I reply. He looks amused again, then he sobers. "This city will die," he says. He doesn't raise his voice, but he doesn't have to. I'm paying attention now. "If you do not learn the things I have to teach you, if you do not help it, the time will come and you will fail, and this city will join Pompeii and Atlantis and a dozen others whose names no one remembers, even though tens of thousands of people died with them. You'll die too when it happens." I don't want to believe him. He's been talking like this since he showed up. Places that never were, things that can't be, omens and portents. I know it's bullshit because he's telling it to me, a kid whose own mama kicked him out and prays for him to die every day. God hates me, and I fucking hate God back, so why would he choose me for anything? But that's why I start paying attention, because of God. I don't have to believe in something for it to fuck up my life. "Tell me what to do," I say. Paolo nods. You want to live. I stand up, stretch, feel the streets around me grow longer and pliable in the rising heat of the day. "Fuck you, no." "Then you don't even care about that?" He makes it a question with the tone of his voice. "It ain't never been about living. I'll starve to death someday, or freeze some winter night, or catch something that rots me away until the hospitals have to take me, even without money or an address. But I'll sing and paint and dance and fucking cry the city before I'm done. Because it's mine. It's fucking mine. That's why. Tell me what to do, I say again, turning to glare at him. Paolo gets to his feet and leads me away for the first lesson. This is the lesson. Great cities are like any other living things, born and maturing and wearying and dying in their turn. Duh, right? Anyone who's visited a city has felt that to some degree. Everyone who hates cities is afraid of something legit. Cities really are different. They make a weight upon the world like black holes, maybe. Yeah. I go to museums sometimes. Saw a movie about how black holes worked. A city's foundations make a dent in the fabric of existence. And as more and more people come in and deposit their strangeness and maybe leave and get replaced by others, the dent deepens. Eventually it gets so deep that it forms a pocket, connected only by the thinnest thread of something to something, whatever cities are made of. But this is enough separation. And in that pocket, the many parts of the city begin to multiply and differentiate. Its sewers extend into places where there is no need for water. Its slums grow teeth, its opera houses claws. Its heart starts to beat. The city quickens. Not all cities make it this far. There used to be a couple of great cities on this continent, but that was before Columbus fucked the Indian shit up, so we all had to start over. Chicago might be next. Mexico City's well on its way, but New York is the first American city to reach this point. It could take 20 years or 200 or 2,000, but eventually the time will come. The cord is cut, and the city becomes a thing of its own, able to stand on wobbly legs and do, well, whatever the fuck a living, thinking entity shaped like a big-ass city wants. And just as in any other part of nature, there are things lying in wait for this moment, hoping to chase down the sweet new life and swallow its guts while it screams. That's why Paolo's here. And that's why I can clear the city's breathing and stretch and massage its asphalt limbs. I'm the midwife, see. I run the city. I run it every fucking day. Paolo takes me home. Okay. Paolo takes me home. It's just somebody's Airbnb apartment in the Lower East Side, but it feels like a home. I use his shower and eat some of the food in his fridge without asking, just to see what he'll do. He doesn't do shit except smoke a cigarette, I think to piss me off. I can hear sirens on the streets of the neighborhood, frequent, close. I wonder for some reason if they're looking for me. I don't say it aloud, but Paolo sees me twitching. He says, the harbingers of the enemy will hide among the city's predators. Be aware of them. He's always saying shit like this. And what the fuck else is new? He says some more cryptic bullshit, something about making sure the city's pulse doesn't falter, like the beat of New York ever could stop. Come on, man. And then he says that I should consider meditation to better attune myself to the city's needs. Like I'm gonna get through this on white girl yoga. White girl yoga, Paolo says, nodding. Yes. Indian man yoga. Stockbroker racquetball and schoolboy handball. Ballet and merengue. Union halls and Soho galleries. You will embody a city of millions. You need not be them, but know that they are part of you. I laugh. That shit ain't no part of me, Chico. The city chose you, Paolo says. Their lives depend on you. Maybe, but I'm still hungry and tired all the time, scared all the time, never safe. What good does it do to be valuable if nobody values you? He can tell I don't want to talk no more, so he gets up and goes to bed. I flop on the couch and I'm dead to the world. Dead. Dreaming. dead dreaming of a dark place beneath heavy, cold waves, where something stirs with a slithery sound and uncoils and turns toward the mouth of the Hudson where it empties into the sea. Something moves between me wherever I am, and the uncurling thing wherever it is. An immensity protects me just this once, just this place. My protector is a sprawling jewel with filth-crusted facets, a thing that stinks of dark coffee and the bruised grass of a football pitch, and traffic noise and familiar cigarette smoke. This lasts for only a moment, but it is enough. The uncurling thing flinches back into its cold cave, resentfully, but it will be back. I wake with sunlight warming half my face. Just a dream. But I stumble into the room where Paolo is sleeping and wiggled under his covers. When he wakes, he doesn't reach for me, but he doesn't push me away either. I let him know I'm grateful and give him a reason to let me back in later. The rest will have to wait till I get condoms and he brushes his ashy-ass mouth. After that, I use a shower again and put on the clothes I washed in his sink and head out while he's still snoring. Libraries are safe places. They're cool in the summer, warm in the winter. Nobody minds if you smell a little ripe as long as you don't disturb their reading, and nobody cares if you stay all day as long as you're not eyeballing the kids' corner or trying to hit up porn on the computers. The one at 42nd Street, the one with the lions, isn't that kind of library. It doesn't even lend out books. But it has a library's power, so I sit in a corner and read everything that catches my eye. Tax law, birds of the Hudson Valley, what to expect when you're expecting. See, Paolo, I listened a little. I read the city and prepare. It gets late afternoon and I head outside thinking maybe I'll splurge on a dirty water dog. People cover the steps, laughing, chatting, mugging with selfie sticks. There's cops in SWAT gear over by the subway entrance, showing off their big-ass guns to the tourists so they'll feel safe from New York. I get a Polish sausage and head over to sit at the feet of one of the lions. Fortitude, not patience. I know my strengths. I'm all full of meat and relaxed and thinking about stuff that ain't actually important, like whether Paolo will let me stash some things at his crib, so I'm not watching the street. Cold prickles skitter over my side. I know what it is before I react, but I'm careless again because I turn to look. Stupid, fucking know better. Cops down in Baltimore broke a man's spine for making eye contact. But as I spot these two on the corner opposite the library steps, short, pale man and tall, dark woman, both in blue like black, I notice something that actually breaks my fear because it's so strange. It's a bright, clear day, not a cloud in the sky. People walking past the cops leave short, stark shadows, barely there at all. But around these two, the shadows pool and curl, as if they stand beneath their own private roiling thundercloud. And as I watch, the shorter one begins to stretch, sort of, his shape warping ever so slightly until one eye is twice the circumference of the other, and his right shoulder is a bulge that suggests a dislocated joint. His companion doesn't seem to notice. Oh, I'm out. I get up and start picking my way through the crowd on the steps. I'm doing that thing I do too, trying to shunt off their gaze, but it feels different this time. Sticky, sort of. Threads of cheap shit gum fucking up my mirrors. I feel them start following me, something lumpin' and huge shifting in my direction, making the ground shiver. Those aren't cops. Real cops are part of the city, sometimes out of balance and needing to be checked by cell phones and riots. But in the end, they're just people, angels or assholes. These things are something else. They're inimical to the city's substance, and I want them gone. But I am not Sao Paulo. My city is weak, unborn. It cannot protect me, not yet. I play casual till I reach the corner and book it, or try. Fucking tourists. They gamble along wrong side of the sidewalk, stopping to look at maps and take pictures of shit nobody gives a fuck about. But I'm so busy cussing them out in my head that I forget they can also be dangerous. Somebody yells and grabs my arm as I Heisman past, and I hear a man yell out, "He tried to take her purse," as I wrench away. Bitch, I ain't took shit, I think, but it's too late. I see another tourist reaching for her phone to call 911. Every cop in the area will be gunning for every black male aged whatever now. I gotta get out of this shit. Grand Central's right there, but I see 3 cops hanging out in the entrance, so I swerve right to take 41st. The crowds thin out past Lex, but where the fuck can I go? I sprint across 3rd despite the traffic. There's enough gaps. But I'm getting tired because I'm a scrawny guy and not exactly a track star. I keep going, though, even through the burn in my side. I can feel the fake cops, the harbingers of the enemy, not far behind me. There's a siren about a block away. Real cops now. Shit, the UN's coming up too. I don't need the Secret Service or whatever on me. I jag left through an alley and trip over a wooden pallet. Lucky though, a cop car rolls by the alley entrance just as I go down and they don't see me. I stay down and try to catch my breath till I hear the car's engine fading into the distance, and then when I think it's safe, I push up. Look back, because the city is squirming around me. The concrete is jittering and heaving. Everything from the bedrock to the rooftop bars is trying its damnedest to tell me to go, go, go. And crowding the alley behind me is the shit? I don't have words for it. Too many arms, too many legs, too many eyes, and all of them fixed on me. Somewhere in the mass, I glimpse a lock of dark hair and a scalp of blonde pale, and I understand suddenly that this are my 2 fake cops, one real monstrosity. The walls of the alley crack as it oozes its way out into the narrow space. Oh, fuck, no, I gasp. I claw my way to my feet and haul ass, not even trying to play anymore. The cop car comes around the corner from 2nd Avenue and I don't see it. I don't care about anything but getting away. The car's loudspeaker blares something unintelligible, probably stop, and I don't give a shit. Do they not see the thing behind me? Or do they just not give a shit because they can't arrest it to shake it down for city revenue? Let them shoot me. Better than whatever the thing behind me will do. I hook left onto 2nd Avenue. The cop car can't come after me against the traffic, but it's not like that'll stop the thing behind me. 45th, 47th, and my legs are molten granite. 50th, and I think I'm gonna die. Heart attack, far too young. Poor kid, should have eaten more organic. Should have taken it easy and not been so angry. Should have just ignored how fucked up the world is. It's gaining. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, please no. Only one choice. Swing right. 53rd against the traffic. An old folks' home, a park, a promenade, fuck those. A pedestrian bridge, fuck that. I head straight for the 6 lanes of utter batshittery and potholes that is FDR Drive. Do not pass go, do not cross on foot unless you want to be smeared halfway to Brooklyn. Beyond it, the East River, if I survive. I'm even freaked out enough to try swimming in that fucking sewage. But probably I'm gonna collapse in the 3rd lane and get run over 50 times before anyone thinks to put on brakes. Behind me, the thing utters a wet, tumid haw, like it's clearing its throat for swallowing. Over the barrier and through the grates into fucking hell I go. 1 lane silver car, 2 lanes horns, 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 3 lanes semi. What's a fucking semi doing on the FDR? It's too tall, you stupid upstate hick shithead. Screaming. 4 lanes, green taxis. Screaming, smart car. 5 lanes, moving truck. 6 lanes, and the blue Lexus actually brushes up against my clothes as it blares past, screaming, 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 screaming. Glass and metal as nothing sees the thing. Nothing stops for it. It does not belong here, and FDR is an artery vital with the movement of nutrients and strength and attitude and fury and adrenaline. The cars are white blood cells, and the thing is an irritant, an infection, an invader to whom the city gives no consideration and no quarter. Screaming as the thing is torn to pieces by the semi and the taxi and the Lexus and even the motherfucking smart car. I collapse onto a square of grass, breathless, shaking, groaning, and can only stare as a dozen limbs are crushed, 2 dozen eyes squashed flat, a mouth that is mostly gums riven from jaw to palate. The pieces keep twitching, but FDR don't stop for shit but a presidential motorcade or a Knicks game, and this thing sure as hell ain't Carmelo Anthony. Oh God, I'm alive. I collapse and cry for a little while. Mama isn't here to slap me and say I'm not a man for it. Then, with limbs burning and weak, I drag myself up and fall again. Everything hurts. Is this that heart attack? I feel sick. Everything is spinning, shaking. Maybe it's a stroke. You don't have to be old for that to happen, do you? I stumble over to a garbage can and think about throwing up into it. There's an old guy sleeping on the bench, me in 20 years if I make it that far. He opens one eye and I stand there gagging. He opens one eye as I stand there gagging and purses his lips in a judgy way like he could do better dry heaves in his sleep. Then he says, "It's time," and rolls over to put his back to me. Time. Suddenly I have to move. Sick or not, exhausted or not, something is pulling me west. I push away from the can and hug myself as I head to the pedestrian bridge. I look down onto fragments of the thing, now ground in by 100 car wheels, as I pass over the lanes I previously ran across. Some of the globules of it are still twitching, and I don't like that. Infection, intrusion, I want it gone. We want it gone. Yes, it's time. I blink and suddenly I'm in Central Park. How the fuck did I get here? I thought I was too tired to walk this far, but something's pulling me, pushing me. I realize only as I see their black shoes that I'm passing a pair of cops, but they don't bother me. They should. Skinny kid shivering like he's cold on a June day. Even if all they do is drag me off somewhere to shove a plunger up my ass, they would react to me. They should react to me, but it's like I'm not there. Miracles exist. Ralph Ellison was right. Any NYPD you can walk away from. The lake, Bow Bridge, a place of transition. I stop here, stand here, and I know. Somewhere beyond the city, something is awakening. It sent forth its harbingers and they have failed. But its taint is in the city now, spreading with every car that passes over every microscopic iota of its substance, and this is a foothold. It uses this anchor to drag itself up from the dark towards the world, toward the warmth and light, toward the defiance that is me, toward the growing wholeness that is my city. On 2nd, 6th, and 8th Avenues, my water breaks. Water mains. Terrible mess, gonna fuck up the evening commute. I shut my eyes and I am seeing what no one else sees. I am feeling the flex and rhythm of reality, the contractions of possibility. I reach out and grip the railing of the bridge before me and I feel the steady, strong pulse that runs through it. You're doing good, baby. Doing great. I feel myself upon the firmament, heavy as the foundations of a city. There are others here with me, looming, watching. My ancestors buried under Wall Street. My predecessors' blood grounded to the benches of Christopher Park. No, new others of my new people, heavy imprints upon the fabric of time and space. Sao Paulo squats closest, nearly upon the bones of dead Machu Picchu, watching sagely and shivering a little with the recent memory of its own traumatic birth. Paris watches with distant disinterest, mildly offended that any city of our tasteless upstart land has managed this transition. Lagos exults to see a new fellow that knows the hustle, the hype, the fight. All of them are here to bear witness. Push, I say, squeezing the railing. Just a little more. And as the firmament ripples, slides, tears, the enemy rise up from the deeps with a reality warping roar. But it is too late. The tether is cut and we are here. We become. We stand, whole and hale and independent, and our legs don't even wobble. We got this. Don't sleep on the city that never sleeps, son, and don't fucking bring your squamous eldritch bullshit here. I raise my arms and avenues leap. I brace my feet and they are girders, anchors, bedrock. The beast of the deep shrieks and I laugh. Bring it. And when it comes at me, I hip check with the BQE, backhand with Inwood Park, drop the South Bronx on it like an elbow. It tries some kind of fucked up wiggly shit. It's all tentacles, and I laugh and bite into it, because New Yorkers eat damn near as much sushi as Tokyo, mercury and all. Oh, now you're crying. Now you want to run. Nah, son, you come to the wrong town. I curb stomp it with the full might of Queens, and something inside the beast breaks and bleeds iridescence all over creation. While it screams, I shower it with a 1-2 punch of Long Island radiation and Gowanus toxic waste, which burn it like acid. Then I piss Astoria traffic on it and stretch out its pain like a bus ride to LaGuardia and back. And just to add insult to injury, I drop Hoboken on its ass. Port Authority makes it honorary New York, motherfucker. You just got Jersey. Sorry. The enemy is as quintessential to nature as any city. We cannot be stopped from becoming, and it cannot be made to end. But I send it back to its lair in the dark to weep and curl in on itself and wish that it could die. And when I relax my hands and open my eyes to see Paolo striding along the bridge toward me with another goddamn cigarette between his lips, I see him for what he is, a sprawling thing of sparkling spires and reeking slums and stolen rhythms made over with genteel cruelty. I know that he sees what I am, too, all the bright light and bluster of me. Maybe he's always seen it. Or maybe not. I respect him as a fellow in arms, but he is ultimately irrelevant. I live the city. It thrives, and it is mine. I am its worthy avatar, and together, we will never be afraid again. 50 years later, I sit in a car watching the sunset from Mulholland Drive. The car is mine. The city is not, but that's all right. The person is coming who will make it live and stand and thrive in the ancient way. I know my duty, respect the traditions. Each city must emerge on its own or die trying. We elders really merely guide, encourage, stand witness. There, a dip in the firmament near the sunset strip. I can feel the welding loneliness of the soul I seek. Poor baby. Won't be long now, though. Soon, if she survives, she'll never be alone again. I reach for my city, so far away, so inseparable from myself. Ready? I ask New York. Fuck yeah, it answers, filthy and fierce. We go forth to find this city's singer and hopefully to hear its birthing song. One more from my mom. Hi, Mom. Okay.
Thank you, N.K. Jemisin. Thank you, Sheree, Renee, Thomas. Thank you all for being here for what has been, in essence, the beta test of the television version of the New York Review of Science Fiction readings. This is what it is going to become once we get a lot of the sound bugs worked out and stuff. I'm sorry, Sheree, but that's what Terrence and I were doing. We're trying to make it sound better. And this mic is an issue. The radio mic is fine, I'm sure. No, this one. Well, no, not that structure. Well, I could if you like a lot of high frequency, bits in there, or if there are policy issues that I will be discussing. But with that gentleman you met earlier, as a matter of fact. Yeah. So at any rate, it is time for us to thank you all for being here. We will be back the first Tuesday, June 2nd, I believe it is, at the Soho Gallery for Digital Art, or what was the Soho Gallery for Digital Art, for in essence, a farewell to that space and a transition. Then we'll take the summer off and move over to here. So as of September, this is our home. By that time, maybe BAI will have finished building its studio on the 3rd floor, but we're broadcasting from there now. I'll be in there tomorrow night at midnight. Tune in. And in the meantime, again, thanks. We're all going to go, I hope, to 282 Atlantic Avenue. That's about 2.5 long blocks, but well worth it, because you get to hang out and meet people there and rub elbows with all the wonderful people who we have here tonight. You don't need to spend money. You just need again. Let's scroll credits. Terrence Taylor, Barbara Krasnoff, I'm Jim Freund, Melissa Ennin, who is the owner of the building, Melissa Beckman, our photographer, and most importantly, N.K. Jemisin and Sheree Renee Thomas. Thank you.